This genuinely caught me off guard. While I expected a relatively average to below average sequel, I had no idea it would be this bad. From the nihilistic plot to the total destruction of everything the previous film had built, Joker Folie A Deux makes a mockery of the previous film, its characters, and the audience themselves. The film opens on a Looney Tunes-esque cartoon recapping the Joker's incident on Murray Franklin from the first film. The Joker's shadow detaches from him, taking his place on stage, causing mayhem and violence, and leaving for Arthur Fleck to take the blame. It's an interesting little psychoanalytical opening that might have worked really well had it been in a better film. We then cut to Arkham Asylum where Arthur Fleck wastes away. He's kept sedated on a steady diet of pills, regularly humiliated by the guards, and slumps about in a humorless daze. This goes on and on and on until he meets Harley Quinn, or Lee, as he calls her. The two begin a romance stemming from Harley's obsession with the Joker and Arthur's lack of options. They attempt to break out of Arkham by way of a trashy song and dance, and this is a musical by the way, and are immediately caught. Arthur gets put on trial defending himself against some of the characters who survived the first film. He finds out Harley lied about her backstory and daydreams about her shooting him. More daydreaming musical numbers that go on and on and on, and Arthur decides to represent himself, at first giving a drawn-out, less impactful speech reminiscent of the ending of the first film. More singing, Gary cries, and Arthur renounces his Joker persona. Harley walks out, Arthur is about to be sentenced, and a conveniently timed car bomb goes off and Arthur is freed. So he immediately goes back to win Harley, who rejects him, and he's then taken back to Arkham. More singing, Arthur gets shanked, and a random inmate who did it carves a smile into his own face as Arthur dies. While most musicals tend toward a lighter plot, with musical numbers eating up a good portion of the time, Joker Folie A Deux plods on and on for 2 hours, 20 minutes, and practically nothing happens. He mopes around Arkham, meets Harley, and then tries to escape. He goes on trial, he tries to escape, they break up, he dies, the end. Now I'm glossing over a lot of smaller elements in my recap because they have absolutely no bearing on the plot and are just things that sort of happen. Arthur sings on TV, sings on the phone, gets assaulted, kisses some dude for a cigarette, some dude gets strangled by the guards, hooks up with Harley, watches movies, and none of it has any impact on the characters or story whatsoever. Perhaps intentionally so, reinforcing the nihilistic view of the film. Now compare this to the first film, where every small action then had a domino effect, impacting the rest of the film. From the opening scene where Joker is beaten up by the gang of teens, this then affects his work, prompting one of his friends to give him a gun to protect himself. That gun falls out of his pocket at a gig at a children's hospital. This gets him fired, putting him on a different ride home and in contact with the wrong group of people, and so on and so on. Throughout the entire film, every single action or bit of dialogue either propels the story forward or gives deeper insight to the characters. Miss a single moment in the first film and you'll miss crucial information to the story, culminating in its triumphant ending. In this sequel, you could walk out on entire segments of the film, and upon your return, everything will be exactly the same. Even its musical numbers, which are used to give a window into Arthur's mind, are completely redundant, showing emotional states that Joaquin Phoenix clearly shows several scenes earlier. Whether it's the exuberant song and dance showing the joy he feels again after first meeting Harley, or the gunshot scene where he learns she betrayed him, or the murderous rage during the trial scene, none of the supposed insights give any new information or deeper context, or even all that effectively reinforce what we've already seen, as they drag on and feel over the top, showcasing the set pieces and music more than the emotion. They only serve to slow down the film to a crawl and provide no deeper meaning. Now, all this might be intentionally done as director Todd Phillips didn't want to do a sequel and actually envisioned the first Joker film as a standalone film. So perhaps it's all a massive joke in a sense, a sort of self-aware commentary on pointless sequels, which I seriously doubt.
To me, a sequel in some ways felt like another way to spend more time with Arthur and to explore him further. We just find him so interesting.
Every time I talked about a sequel, I was serious.
That's right.
But for the sake of argument, let's say it is. That doesn't make a compelling film. If self-aware commentary was the hallmark for great filmmaking, then She-Hulk is the Citizen Kane of our generation. From a technical standpoint, this film is also a letdown, with a dour, blue-gray hue blanketing every scene, only broken by the musical numbers which keep the late 70s color schemes and set designs. Larry Sher is an unbelievably talented cameraman, and his previous work clearly demonstrates that, but this one is a miss. Recycling shot composition and color schemes from the first film in the dank, lifeless setting of prison and then the courtroom. Obviously, he needed to stay within the style he established from the previous film, but that style seems to clash with the setting rather than complement it, resulting in a film that looks as depressing as its central themes. While turning in an incredibly compelling performance in the first film, Joaquin Phoenix's second time around, the first sequel of his career by the way, is a hollow, miserable shell of what it once was. Where he previously played the character on edge, chaos brewing under the facade of a happy clown as his life went from bad to worse and worse, eventually exploding in a twisted victory in the film's finale, here he's a sad, sappy mope who wears his heart on his sleeve, constantly singing about his feelings, only serving to undermine the mystique created by his earlier work. As far as Lady Gaga's performance is concerned, she was severely miscast here, essentially doing the same bit she did for A Star Is Born, crying about her trashy relationships and singing so much that even the Joker tells her to shut up. Her dynamic with the Joker is fundamentally changed from the original story, where she became attracted to him because the relationship was similar to that of her and her father, abusive and rejecting, with Harley constantly seeking validation and love from a source she can never get it from. Here, the Joker fawns over Harley, and she manipulates and ultimately rejects him in a complete role reversal, stripping the couple of the fascinating and tragic dynamic that they share. However, being that Arthur is revealed to not have been the Joker after all, none of this even matters, yet again tying into the theme this film shoves in the face of the audience. Nothing is important, nothing matters, and that being the case that this film argues, why even watch it?
I don't want to see anymore.